That's the state of my brain. I just pick things up and don't finish them, apparently. Hi everybody, my name is Alex, and on this channel I talk about all things knitting, crochet, and fiber in general. Welcome if you are new, and welcome back if you're returning. Thank you so much for being here. Today is the second episode of my knitting podcast, knitting and crochet and fiber podcast. And I have quite a lot to cover, so let's just jump right into it. I have 3 finished objects and 2 works in progress to talk about today. I also have an acquisition of sorts. It's not a yarn acquisition, but it is still a knitting related acquisition. So I'm going to talk about it, and I'm really excited about it. And then at the end, I'd like to take a little chapter out of Knits by Mandy's podcast and talk about some media that I've been consuming recently that I think needs to be shared so we can all have the same experience. Okay, first let's start with what I'm wearing. So I am wearing my blouse number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I knit this in Yarn Citizen fingering weight yarn in the color chestnut that I purchased at Jimmy Bean's Wool, which is a yarn store in Reno, Nevada. And if you are in Reno, Nevada, I would highly recommend checking out Jimmy Bean's Wool. This is not an ad, I just really like the store. I knit this on 5mm needles as discussed in the pattern. But if you've been here, you know that there have been some trials and tribulations with this blouse number 1. First, okay, according to my bust measurement, I should have been a size extra large, but I know my bust to waist to shoulder ratio is like my bust is slightly bigger than designers expect it to be, so I decided to size down to a large in the pattern. I knit the whole yoke and part of the body on 5mm needles in a size large, and that's where I was in my last podcast. I had just knit it for the first time, and unfortunately it was way too big. It wasn't big in the sense that I felt like I wouldn't like the fit. It was big in the sense that I was worried I was going to run out of yarn because I didn't necessarily purchase the yarn very smartly. with that much thought behind meterage. So I asked you in my last podcast whether you all thought I should frog it and start over, and the options I think were to either frog it and knit it on a 4.5mm needle but still in a size large, or to frog it and knit it on a 5mm needle but in a size medium. And I ended up sizing down in the pattern because I really liked the fabric that the 5mm needle was making. I didn't want a denser fabric. I wanted the same gauge-ish. So I ended up frogging the whole thing, then re-knitting it in a size medium, which is 2 sizes down from what the pattern says I should be. So I'm a little confused about My Favorite Things Knitwear's sizing. I'll insert some B-roll of it. I made a video of it pre-blocked and post-blocked so you can really see the difference. The finishings on this blouse, there's no ribbing on either the sleeves or the hem or the collar, so it's supposed to roll a little bit, but right off the needles it was rolling a lot. So I'm really glad that I was able to straighten it out mostly with blocking, because the arms and the body were quite short before I blocked it. As far as the pattern goes, the pattern was super easy to follow. I would highly recommend the pattern to anybody who likes this look. It was very clear. All of the numbers made sense. And both times that I knit the hard part, the yoke, I didn't have any issues. Like, it was a very easy process. And most of it is just stockinette in the round. So great TV knit. That being said, the sizing needs to be addressed because what the heck? I don't know why that was such an issue for me. I don't know whether I hit gauge now with this finished object. I'll measure the gauge and I'll insert on the screen whether or not I have hit gauge. And any details about my gauge for this size. It was a little frustrating to have to frog the whole thing and start over, but it was also, what are you gonna do? Now it's done. Thank you so much to everybody who encouraged me to frog it. I definitely needed that encouragement, and I definitely took it, and I feel very supported in my frogging process because it's scary to have to frog things, and it feels disappointing. It feels like you're taking back hours and hours of work, but in the end, it's so much more worth it to have a finished object that you love and that fits you well than it would be to have something that doesn't fit you so well that you never wear. I know that for sure I'm going to wear this so much more than I would have if it was too big. So thank you everybody who commented. As far as the yarn goes, this is my first time knitting with Yarn Citizen. I believe that they make yarn specifically for Jimmy Bean's Wool, and it's 100% Peruvian wool. I held it double, so I used a total of 400 grams to knit this. I have barely any left. Let me show you. This is how much I have left. Of the 4 100-gram hanks that I bought, I have this much left. I don't know how much this weighs, but I would estimate it weighs 10 grams. So yeah, a little bit of yarn chicken. a lot of bit of yarn chicken. But I got it done, and actually I love the fit. I love the length of the sleeves. I love the length of the body. I love it all. As far as the yarn goes, it is a little bit itchy, which I'm discovering that I might have a wool sensitivity. I thought I wouldn't have as much sensitivity to wool as I do. I realized that I don't wear a lot of wool garments before I started knitting. Most of my clothing is cotton, acrylic, of course, because everybody's clothes are made of plastic. And I don't have a lot of wool or alpaca or animal fibers. This is like I definitely feel it on my skin. I wouldn't describe it as soft, and I would describe it as slightly itchy, but a manageable itchy in the sense that I will definitely still wear it because I love it and I made it, so I better wear it. But it's not the most like cozy thing that I have ever put on my body. I think that it will probably be better with a long sleeve shirt underneath it. Again, like my step by step sweater that I knit out of Drops Lima and Drops brushed alpaca that is also itchy. I will probably be more comfortable with a long sleeve shirt underneath, which means that it's more a winter knit. I was intending for this to be a spring layer, something that I wear in the morning or in the evening over a tank top, because you know how it's super cold in the morning and then hot throughout the day and then cold again at night in the springtime. But I do think it is a little too itchy right now because I just knit it. I don't care that it's itchy because I want to wear it so badly, but I imagine that over time I will not reach for it as often because of the itch factor. So that's kind of a bummer, and definitely something that I need to take with me into my future projects. So if you have any yarn recommendations that are not itchy but also natural fiber, I love acrylic yarn for specific projects. I love acrylic yarn for decor or for accessories like bags and baskets and stuff like that because I feel like it's really durable and it's really easy to wash, and I think acrylic yarn makes great gifts if you're going to knit or crochet something to give to somebody as a gift, because then they can care for it really easily. But in my me-made wardrobe, in my clothing, I would really like to use natural fibers, not plastic. So if you have any recommendations for yarn that is a natural fiber, natural being either an animal fiber or a cotton, linen, viscose. Is viscose natural? I think it is. Bamboo, that kind of thing. Please let me know what your recommendations are because I want to try a bunch of stuff. I think that's all I have to say about my blouse number one. Let's move on to my second finished object, which I was planning for this to never make another appearance on the podcast. And here it is. Because you all are amazing and you gave me such great advice. Okay, so this is a tank top that I hand drafted. If you didn't watch the first episode, I will recap here. I saw a photo on Instagram of a girl who made a tank top just like this, and I was like, I need that. I need that right now. So I drafted this myself in a very old, not old, like it was dirty or anything, just I've had it for a long time, old acrylic yarn that I got it at Michael's, but I don't know the brand. And it's definitely too thick for this tank top. It is probably an Aran weight or a worsted weight, and I would prefer a tank top like this to be DK at most. You know, it's definitely too thick for this kind of garment. But where we left off in the last podcast was that this was too tight, and the sleeves and the bottom and the collar were rolling in a way that I didn't like. My question last time was whether I should frog it or whether I should weave in the ends and wear it as is, but you all gave me such good recommendations that are neither of those options. Somebody commented that I should intentionally drop stitches on the sides to increase the circumference. So that's what I did. I dropped stitches underneath both armpits, and I actually think that it gives the tank top another level of interest. Like, it's already cool, but it's definitely basic. So I personally really like the drop stitches, and it gave me probably another inch around my bust, which makes it not too tight anymore. It's definitely not too tight anymore. And then also, you all reminded me that it is okay to mix knitting and crochet. You can do both in the same project. So I was really struggling with how to finish the armholes because it was rolling in. I didn't want to do an I-cord. I didn't want to do double knit band or a ribbed edge because this yarn is so thick. I feel like that would have made it way too bulky. So instead, I single crocheted around the whole thing. And I think it gives it a really nice finishing detail. I did not do it around the collar because I actually don't mind the way that the collar rolls naturally. It kind of reminds me of how the blouse number one rolls in the pattern photos. But I did just one round of single crochet on the arms, and then I did 2 rounds of single crochet on the hem. I'll insert some B-roll so you can see what it looks like on, but I definitely like it a lot better. I don't know if I love it. I wouldn't say I love it, but I definitely like it, which is much better than where we were last time. So thank you again for your comments and your advice. I really, really appreciate it. And I think that I might wear it sometimes, if not just because I made it, so I feel an obligation to wear it. This is maybe a theme that I'm just wearing things because I feel obligated to wear them because I made them, but I do like it enough to wear, which before I did not like it enough to wear. I knew for a fact I was never going to wear it. So that is good. I like the length. It's definitely not too big. I am still a little upset about the stitches. The stitches are quite uneven. I blocked it again, so there's nothing I can really do to fix that. It's just the fact that when I knit this, it was 3 months ago and my tension wasn't very good. So that's a bummer. But all in all, I would say this was a success in terms of salvaging. If not, if I end up not wearing it, I feel like because it's just a rectangle, I feel like I could seam the top, seam the armholes up, and then make it into a cute little bag or something. I don't know. Maybe I could practice steeking. I've been so fascinated by steeking recently. It sounds like something I will definitely 100% try, because how cool is it that you get to make something in the round and then cut it to make it a cardigan or open or something that isn't in the round? That sounds genius to me. And if I can knit in the round, I would much prefer to do that. So maybe if I don't end up wearing this, there are other uses for this project. And even if that doesn't happen, I learned something. And I'm okay with that for right now. Okay, moving on to my third finished object. And that is my aniela. I think I said it wrong in my last podcast. Let me look up the name. I've typed this so many times in the last couple days. I should really know what the name is. Aniela. This is my aniela hat. This is a 2-color brioche beanie that was a work in progress in my last podcast. I think in my last podcast I hadn't gotten to the crown shaping yet, so I just knit a tube. And I have since finished the tube and finished all of the crown decreases. I knit this in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the colors Bark and Marzipan. Bark is the dark brown and Marzipan is the lighter cream gray color. It definitely looks gray next to the bark, but I think it's more a cream or a white, like an off-white. This is a brioche, 2-color brioche stitch that I found to be very fun. I really like brioche. It makes a super squishy fabric. It does take kind of a long time. I felt like this hat took longer than I expected it to take. It might have been that this was my side project to work on while I couldn't work on other whips, so it took me probably 5 or 6 weeks to finish, but I wasn't knitting on it the whole time. I'll insert some images of me wearing it, but I'm not going to put it on right now because that would ruin my hair. Not that I've like done my hair or anything. I never actually do my hair. This is what my hair looks like every day. As you may notice, my hair looks the same in every video. I used to do my hair every day, and now I just couldn't bother. One thing I will say is that the decreases kind of look different on the right versus the left. So if you can see that there, the left-leaning decreases look better than the right-leaning decreases. The right-leaning decreases are making making that line a little wavy, but the left-leaning decreases are keeping it nice and straight. So I'm not really sure why that happened because I feel like my tension was pretty even. If you have any tips on how to decrease in brioche and that doesn't happen, please comment them so that I can learn. I've learned so much from all of you. I appreciate you so much because I feel like I've progressed way faster than I would have if I didn't have this YouTube channel, and I really appreciate all of your advice. I really love that because it's 2-color brioche, the main body of the hat has a brown dominant color, but the brim has a white dominant color, but that they both have the other color, so it's cohesive. When I was knitting this, Max really did not see the vision. He was really like, those colors look not so great together. And I don't understand why he felt like it was too brown. But now that the brim is flipped up and it's more white, I really do like the white. And because it's brioche, it is actually 100% reversible, which I'm going to expose myself for a second and show you that my ends are not woven in. But it is 100% reversible. I could wear it on the other side too, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like a 2-in-1 hat, even though they look similar enough that somebody else might not notice that they're 2 different orientations. But I could not figure out how to do the crown decreases / the tightening of the top at the end without making it look weird on this side. So sorry, I know my ends are not woven in. I probably will never weave them in if I'm being honest. The tip of the hat Do you see how weird that top is looking? Because the brown makes a ring around the white and then the center is brown again. It looks like a bullseye, which I don't love. And I don't love that to be on the top of my head. I guess, I mean, it makes sense. That's why people put pom-poms on the top of hats. But I personally don't want a pom-pom on top of this hat. If you look at this side, that's what the top looks like with the brown side facing out. So I'll probably wear it in the orientation that I originally decided, just because of the way that I closed it up at the top. Overall, the pattern was really easy to follow. I would highly recommend the pattern. I think it was pretty inexpensive too. It was only $3.50. I'm not sure if that was US dollars or if it was in some other currency, but around that much. Pattern was super clear, very easy to follow. I think this is a great finished object. Oh, one other thing. The Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino is a little rustic, I would describe it as, when you're holding it. It's definitely, I have never used Knitting for Olive Merino, just a regular fingering weight merino, but I've heard other people talk about how the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino is not just a DK version of the Knitting for Olive Merino. The Knitting for Olive Merino is apparently much smoother and softer, I think, and the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino is definitely a little bit rustic. But that being said, it is not itchy, especially not itchy. I was expecting this hat to be a little itchy because the yarn feels a little rustic, but it's actually so comfortable on my forehead, and that's such a pleasant surprise because a merino beanie that has this thick of a brim is going to be so nice and warm in the winter. I'm so excited to be able to wear this. Look at me making so many things that I just can't wear until next winter. It's definitely a little bit of a bummer, but I'm now focusing on some spring summer knits, so it'll all work out. I love the yarn and I will definitely use it again if I find the funds to do so in the future. I started with 2 full skeins of each color and I didn't use the full skeins. I think I have 12 grams left of the marzipan and I have 15 grams left of the bark. So this is a great stash busting project. I honestly think that I made the body of the hat, the tube part of the hat, I think I made it a little bit too long. Personally, I don't love a lot of extra room in the top of a beanie, so I wanted it pretty snug to my head. And the pattern tells you to knit the tube for X amount of centimeters, so I knit it to that amount of centimeters, but I do think it's a little bit long for my preferences. I folded up the brim quite a bit in order to get it to be flat on top of my head, but I don't think I need such a large brim. Obviously, everybody's head shape is different. I feel like I have maybe a shorter head, so that's why this is happening. But what was my point here? Oh, it's a great stash busting project because even if you have less than 2 full skeins of different colored yarn, you could still make a complete beanie. It definitely is not very yarn hungry. And it's DK weight, so it's super quick. It's like not a fingering weight beanie that takes you forever. Hi, okay, editing Alex here. I completely forgot to mention I've not blocked the beanie because I really like the fit, and because it's brioche, I didn't want it to stretch out too much, which could happen if I block it. So I really love the fit, but the stitch definition is not very even. It's a little wonky in some places. So I also feel like blocking would really help the yarn bloom and even out my stitches a little bit. So I asked you all over on Instagram whether I should block it or not block it. And you were very helpful. Not at all. These were the results of that poll that I did on Instagram. And 50% of people said, yes, I should block it. And 50% of people said, no, I should not block it. So I'm coming now to YouTube. I need your advice. Do you think I should block the beanie or do you think I should leave it as is? Because I really like the fit, but I think it could also look much more professional if I block it. Okay, thanks. Moving on to my whips. My first whip that I have to show you, I also showed you in my last podcast, but I've made a little bit of progress. This is a crochet beach cover up that I'm freehanding. And last time I think I had gotten to just where I joined in the round, and now I've gotten all the way out and I've finished the increases for the hips, and now I just need to crochet in the round all the way down to the floor. I'm using Knit Pal Cotton to the Core. It's a DK weight 100% cotton yarn that's fairly affordable. I think I might have lied to you. This is 78% cotton, 22% acrylic. 50 grams is 142 yards. I maybe don't mind that it's a little bit acrylic because of the price point. It's definitely a more affordable cotton yarn. I really love the color and I really love how soft it is. And I think it's going to be perfect for this project. I have some maybe issues with this whip. I don't love the way that I increased. The increases are kind of veering diagonally instead of increasing in a line straight down, which they're really hard to see. The increases are hard to find. But in crochet, when you increase, you just do the same stitch into the same spot, and it kind of creates a corner rather than a wider circumference. So I think I need to figure out how to increase effectively. I'm trying to see if I can find an example. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. Yeah, no, it's too hard to tell where the increases are on this mesh. But I really do want the final project to work out. I was originally following a pattern, but the pattern was knit in two rectangles and then seamed together. And I don't know about you, but I am not the biggest fan of seaming. So I decided to instead crochet two rectangles and then join them in the round under the arms and then just crochet in the round all the way down to the how long I want it to be so that I can try it on much easier. I really want to make a tutorial type video for how to recreate this because I feel like it is my own draft. The only thing I'm worried about is that it is the same stitch that the pattern uses, but I feel like if you know anything about crochet, you can figure out what this stitch is. Just a double crochet chain one situation, which is a super common stitch. So what do you think? Do you think that it's okay for me to make a tutorial? At this point is not following the pattern at all. I'm not following the stitch counts. I'm not following the shaping. I'm not following the construction, but I am using the same type of stitch. Let me know where you land on the ethics of that because I really need your advice. I would really like to make a tutorial video because that's something that I would have liked to watch when I was starting to crochet. Like I mentioned in my last podcast, making something like this, a beach cover up, was the reason that I got into crocheting in the first place. It's a super beginner friendly object, and I would have really liked to be able to watch a YouTube video that shows you how to do the whole thing when I started. So there's my question for you. How do you feel about all of that? My next work in progress is a cardigan. Let me give you a little bit of background. In my last podcast, I mentioned that I'm going to a wedding and I'm wearing this dress and I need a cover up to wear over this dress for the ceremony. And I would really like to make the cover up myself because I have all these new knitting skills and I think how cool would it be to show up to the wedding in something I made. And in that video, I was deciding between two different patterns or two different styles that I was going to freehand, either a sweater scarf, which thank you, all of you told me that it's called a sweater scarf. I didn't know that what this thing was called. And all of you directed me to some great patterns that emulate this kind of vibe. So I really appreciate you for pointing me in the right direction because I was just scrolling aimlessly on Ravelry looking for something like this. And then the other option was a really long shawl that I just tied around myself. But I ended up choosing neither of those options. And it's because I saw Sherry, who has a channel and an Instagram called Good Knits, knitting a cardigan that is called the CARDI Jumper. And it's this really beautiful cardigan that you can wear multiple ways. You can either wear it with the buttons in the front or you can flip it around and put the buttons in the back. And I really love how it looks with the buttons in the back. I feel like it's really elegant and the perfect cover up for the ceremony. So that's what I've decided to cast on. Also, in my first podcast episode, I asked whether I should knit it in a cotton yarn held by itself or a cotton yarn held with a strand of mohair. And you all reminded me how uncomfortable mohair is in the heat. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in this video, but the wedding is in the Midwest at the end of June, so it will be quite hot and muggy. But I have decided to choose the mohair combination because I love the fabric so much. And my justification for this is that the wedding ceremony will be indoors inside a church. So I feel like there will be air conditioning, especially in a place like the Midwest. They have air conditioning in every room. And even if it is warm, I feel like I can suffer through for an hour just to get to wear this cardigan. So that's my justification. I know also, like, I've been talking this whole time about how I am not okay with itchy things, and here I am making something that is almost intentionally itchy. But just know that I acknowledge that, and I'm going to continue forward anyway. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. So this is my CARDI jumper. Oh my goodness, no way! I'm in the middle of a row again. Give me 1 second. Oh my god. If you watched my vlog that I posted last week, I also was in the middle of a row when I was trying to show it to you, and I had to finish the row before I could actually show you anything. So that's the state of my brain. I just pick things up and don't finish them, apparently. Here's my progress so far. I have finished both front increases for the v-neck, and I am currently working on the back panel. I haven't made a ton of progress on this recently because I really wanted to get my blouse number 1 done. But now it is time to sit down and grind and work on this. I am using Jubilee Yarn Delightfully Fine in the color Beloved Pearl, which is a lace weight yarn held with a mohair, just a beige, warm beige colored mohair. I got this on Amazon, some like not very good quality seller. So I'm not going to link it for you, but I think the Knitting for Olive in the color Wheat is this exact same color. I have one skein of Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color wheat, and it's this literally this exact same color. If you're looking for this yarn combination, that's what I would recommend. This is what the fabric is looking like. I absolutely love the fabric that this is making, and honestly, I feel like it's pretty soft. Like, it's just as soft, if not softer, than this blouse number 1 that I'm wearing, and this is pretty fine for most things. And I love the kind of airiness of the fabric. I feel like it's so dainty and lovely, and yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Hopefully, I will have much more progress in my next podcast because the wedding is June 30th, and I really need to finish this. It's already the middle of May, so I need to get a move on with that one. I think that that's actually a really good segue into my acquisitions. So my first acquisition is these buttons. These are the buttons that I'm planning to use for my CARDI jumper. The buttons that the pattern recommends are so beautiful. There are these, I'll insert a photo of them. There are these pearl buttons that have a beautiful gold or black or something like that edge. I love them so much, but they are from a seller in the UK, I think, and shipping was $25. I think the buttons are like less than $1 each, and then shipping was $25 to get them here. And I just, at the time, I couldn't justify spending 4 times as much on shipping as I did on the object. So I bought these at Michael's. They're little pearls. They do look kind of cheap. Here, let's hold them up next to the fabric. I feel like they'll be okay, and at least they'll be okay enough for this wedding if I don't find anything I like better in time. And I can always change out the buttons later if I don't like them in the long run. I think about the buttons from that website daily. So I don't know, maybe I will just buy them and pay the $25 in shipping. $25, like in the grand scheme of things, isn't that much money. But it is when you've already spent a lot of money on all the yarn, and I'm still in college, and I don't know. We live in a material world. That is my first acquisition, are these buttons. My second acquisition are a bunch of, I'm so excited about this, a bunch of, it's reflecting, the light's reflecting, light bulb stitch markers, which before this, I was using, when I started crocheting, I got one package of stitch markers because I thought that it was the right thing to do to crochet. And I just got these classic safety pins, plastic stitch markers that you see at every craft store. And I like them enough. They work well enough, but they are a little large for most projects. And they're a little, they kind of stretch out stitches when you're using them to mark a place and you're not using them as like the beginning of round or something. And I see everybody knitting with these really cool light bulb stitch markers, so I bought some. And I got this pack that has a bunch of different colors. So there's like gold down there, brown, bronze, pink, blue, purple, green, orange, burgundy, my favorite color. And I have so far used them really frequently, and I like them a lot. So would recommend if you're considering. They're not that expensive, and they're very much worth it. They're just so easy to put everywhere because they're so thin. And then along the same veins of that, I got these little flower stitch markers, which don't have a clasp. They aren't a safety pin design. So they are more used for the beginning of round or to mark where you need to increase or decrease on your rounds. And I got them from a company called All Stitch Studios on Etsy. They also have a whole website though that you can purchase directly from their website. And I just thought that these were so cute to have little flowers on your knitting. Oh my goodness. So cute and adorable. I needed them. And then I had the genius idea, if I do say so myself, to combine my light bulb stitch markers and my little flowers to make a more versatile stitch marker. And so I made all of these. Well, I didn't make, I assembled all of these little stitch markers. And I absolutely love when I come around and when I see one while I'm knitting and I see these little beautiful flowers dangling off of my project. I feel like I posted about this kind of a lot because I love them so much, but I feel like it's kind of how you wear earrings to decorate your face. These little dangly stitch markers decorate the knitting, and I love them so much. I also got, well, I found, Max gave me this little pink zipper bag to hold all of my stitch markers. So yeah, not yarn acquisitions, but definitely exciting acquisitions, if I do say so myself. Now I would like to move on to media. And I think for my first media sit down talk conversation, I want to talk about a knitting related topic, which is knitting podcasts. These are some of the podcasts that I have watched from beginning to end. I've watched every single one of their videos. I love them as a person. I am so excited every time that they post. And I'll name a couple now. Of course, I watch more knitting podcasts than this, but I'll save some of them for future media sections in future podcast episodes. The first podcast is, of course, she just has such a special place in my heart because she introduced me to knitting, and that is Handmade by Florence's knitting podcast. I love her podcast so much. I think she's much more formal than I would say my podcast is. My podcast, we're kind of like just hanging out here, and I'm a little scatterbrained and I never write anything down, but she is very deliberate about everything she has to say about her projects, and she has incredible designs, and I love her talking us through her design process. And because I watched all of her videos from start to finish, or from beginning to end, for a while I thought that sock knitting was a little silly. I felt like, why would you invest so much time knitting something that's going to go on your feet and experience so much wear, and then you have to hand wash them because they're knit socks and you can't just throw them in the laundry even though you wear them every day. But Florence knits a bunch of lace socks and cable socks, and they are so adorable and so cute. And now I really think that I need to knit myself a pair of lace or cabled socks. I also love the idea. When I'm at home, I wear slippers, and I love, 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 love the idea of my little handmade lace or cabled socks that I'm wearing with my slippers while I'm cozy at home. I love Florence. I think she has great viewpoints on knitting, and I especially love her step-by-step videos that she's made. She's made a step-by-step sweater video tutorial, which is the video that got me into knitting. And she's also made a step-by-step cardigan video now. And she also, I think, has a video tutorial on how to knit lace socks. So if I knit a pair of socks, it'll probably be following that video because I just love her so much. Another podcast that I really love to watch is Amy from Knee Knits. She is also an engineer, so that's kind of cool that I have that in common with her, where we're both in engineering and also love knitting. And she's also a little more, I don't want to say formal, but just not programmed. She knows what she's doing. They're professionals about it. I'm not so professional about it. Amy is very deliberate about everything that she has to say. She gives great pattern reviews. She accomplishes so much. I feel like she has so many finished objects. She and Florence both have so many finished objects in every one of their podcasts. Amy uses a lot of hand-dyed yarn, and she works a lot with Sorella, and I love seeing all of the colorways that she uses. I love the versatility of all of the projects that she's made. It's just like really inspirational as somebody who recently started knitting to see where I could be in a couple years after a couple years of knitting. So yeah, I love Amy. Oh, another podcast that I absolutely love and have watched from beginning to end is Two Pearls in a Pod. They are Paige and Sarah, and they're great friends who make monthly knitting podcasts together. They live in Australia, and I just think that their friendship is so genuine and they're so funny, and I love their banter and their back and forth, and I love how encouraging they are to each other and how encouraging they are to the viewers, and how they're always reminding us that we don't need to be pushing through projects. They are just as much process knitters as they are finished object knitters, and I get a lot of inspiration from the things that they knit because it's so different than stuff that I usually gravitate towards. So yeah, definitely love Two Pearls in a Pod. The final podcast that I will mention right now, who I think I've already mentioned in this episode, Sherry from Good Knits. Sherry is a Canadian living in Amsterdam, and she also chooses really great pieces. She chooses more closet staples, so I love getting a variety of different inspiration where Two Pearls in a Pod, Paige and Sarah choose maybe alternative things that I wouldn't necessarily gravitate towards. I think that Sherry from Good Knits chooses great staples that are also I would love to have in my wardrobe. My CARDI Jumper was inspired by Sherry. She's currently making a vlog type update series. She's knitting the Milady's dress, which I don't know if I could ever knit a fingering weight button up dress. That is taking a fingering weight cardigan and making it 10 times harder. And I think it's a made to measure pattern. Anyway, she's documenting the whole thing. And I just love her honesty about knitting and her reviews on patterns and yarns. I love that she lives in a different part of the world than me and shares a little bit about her life too, what it's like living in Amsterdam. I think it's very cool. If you have any podcasts that you really love to watch, please comment them down below, because I think we all are always looking for more knitting podcasts to watch while we're knitting. It's my most favorite thing to do while I'm knitting is watch knitting podcasts, because I feel like I get to hang out with all of the people who love to do the same craft as me. So if you have any other podcast recommendations that I didn't mention here, please comment them down below. And I think that's all I have for you today. I will be back next week with another video, and I'll be back with another podcast in 2 weeks. I think I'll do the podcast every other week because I can't possibly knit enough to have enough to show you in just 1 week. So I think every 2 weeks for a podcast, alternating a podcast with a different type of video. Let me know what videos you'd like to see if you have any sort of opinions about that. If you stuck with me all the way until the end, thank you. I really appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one.